right, and welcome to another episode of Gold Rush here on the JTR Podcast Network. This is Mark Redman coming to you from the Noodles position in Champaign, Illinois, joined by my tag team partner Jabari Sinclair.
Yo, yo,
Bari,
what's
this
up?
was a fun one to prepare for this week because we're both WCW kids from way back then.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah, it was fun going back and reliving some of those memories. It was a great time.
hmm Cringy or otherwise, there was some good stuff in there.
Exactly.
So I mean, it's not a secret. I mean, it's in the open. We're going to be talking about the WCW Cruiserweight Championship, but only the period from its inception in '96 through Survivor Series of '01, which is when the belt was kind of merged with the light heavyweight title for WWF and made the WWF Cruiserweight Championship. So after '01, we're not gonna go any further than that today. Uh,
It's all right because we got plenty to cover.
oh, we got plenty. Thing, I mean, I put the subtitle "Firecracker" on this one because that's basically what the cruiserweights were in WCW. They were the blasting cat for that Nitro show. Most nights it was the first match or two on the card was the luchadors or the cruiserweights, and they
Yeah,
always did a really good job of kind of getting the energy up for that show before they would bring
exactly.
out your Horsemen or your NWO or whoever.
Yeah, no, that was your sizzle before the state got there. So you had to
Yes.
do something with the crowd up, and the cruiserweights definitely did that. They did not get the credit they deserved then.
No. Uh, Something that struck me as weird is that, and I know this is talking about the WWE Cruiserweight title. That was the only title that never went away from SmackDown. It was the only title that was SmackDown exclusive for its entire run, which that makes me the Raw brand could have really used the cruiserweights. I think.
You think so?
I,
Well,
I
yeah,
think so, but
especially after they got rid of the Intercontinental Championship.
mhm, good old Bischoff. Well, where Bischoff failed there, I think he was wildly successful in WCW with the cruiserweights. Uh, like my segue. It's so just very briefly, so here's the belt we're talking about. Look at that. It's not the best design in the world. Uh, it's got a very Japanese flavor to it, and it kind of makes sense considering the fact that the the belt was inaugurated in Japan at a New Japan event, and it
Yeah,
was
it
on
sure was.
March 20th, 1996.
Hmm.
Shinjiro Otani, who, if you remember Starcade '95, he's the guy that wrestled Eddie Guerrero in that
Yes, he
World
was.
Cup thing they were doing, which is kind of, I mean, I enjoyed it, but it seemed a little complicated.
Yeah,
And
yeah. I don't
but
think it
Ot
went over as well as they wanted that to. But yeah, I'm like you. I enjoyed it.
yeah, but Otani beat Chris Benoit at a New Japan event on that night, and he became the first cruiserweight champion. And after that, it just kind of went from there. After that, nobody. It was always on a regular WCW roster member. It wasn't because Otani he never showed up on Nitro with the title.
Nope.
And get back down here. Uh, so a couple quick things. We mentioned Otani being the first champion. The last champion to hold this belt was Tajiri, November of 2001. And most reigns is a tie between Rey Mysterio Jr. and Billy Kidman. They both had 5 runs with this belt.
How about that?
Yeah. Little asterisk, 2 of those for Kidman, I think, were in WWF during the Invasion angle. But it is what it is. Uh, uh, so the story goes that we all remember the WCW Light Heavyweight Championship in '91 from the matches with Pillman and Liger. Uh,
Pillman and Liger. Yep.
yeah, and not for nothing, hey, we're gonna meet Liger next weekend, Barry. I'm very excited.
We are excited about that.
Uh, the belt became inactive in September of '92 when Brad Armstrong got hurt after he had beaten uh, Scotty Flamingo, I want to say, to win the title from him.
That sounds
So
about right.
so for about 3.5 years, there was no junior heavyweight, light heavyweight, whatever champion until re- they rechristened the WCW Cruiserweight Championship in '96 with Otani beating Benoit. So just a brief background there. And as far as championships, there were, I want to say, 27 different people held this belt, Bari, which honestly I thought it would be more. I thought it'd be
Yeah,
something along the lines of like the old hardcore championship in WWF where everybody and their mother held it for at least 10 minutes.
yeah. No, I mean, yeah, for there to only be 27 and just that few amount of years, I mean, like the guys had runs and they were pretty, I guess, pretty lengthy for the most part.
Yeah. Something that stuck out to me is the belt was defended on pay-per-views regularly, but it seems like the best cruiserweight matches were always the ones on Nitro. You know what I mean? Whether it was
Yeah.
one-on-ones or like you were
Where they
talking,
kind
you were
of,
watching the match.
told the guys to go out there and just do their thing for 7 minutes.
hmm And like
Yeah.
you mentioned, you watched Malenko and Ray from July of '96 when Ray won his first belt. And I looked at the crowd because I went back and I watched that match after you told me that. And watching the crowd, you could tell it was just a gaggle of tourists at Disney World that didn't know who these people were.
Nothing.
And I mean, they reacted to the moves, but they really couldn't care less about the characters across the whole show. No, it wasn't just the cruiserweights.
Yeah.
Basically, until anything with Sting or Luke Savage, or I think the NWO came out at the end. But yeah, it's just they were working for a pretty dead crowd at the beginning of that show. So let's run down our lineage here, Bari.
All right. Let's get
As
it.
usual, this will take up most of the show here. So first up, we had Otani. There he is. Not the best picture, but there aren't a lot of pictures of him with the belt because he
Right.
only held it
Yeah.
for a few months. Uh,
Yeah. But
so
hey, there you go.
I know very little about his reign with this belt because, like I said, I didn't when I was 14, 15, I didn't watch New Japan on a
Nah.
grand scale.
Same
So
here.
it was on Worldwide in May 2nd. He drops it to the Iceman
Ice man,
for the
look at
first
him.
time. Your first pick, Bari, in that fantasy draft we did.
Damn right. Look at him, stern, serious, with his little male stripper vest on.
Yep. Yeah, you wouldn't think he'd have like the bedazzle on the vest, but he's such a straight-laced, serious guy. But
Exactly.
I, I'm not going to tell him.
Oh no, me yellow.
Uh, he was my brother's favorite cruiserweight when we were watching Nitro back in the mid '90s, mainly for his in-ring style. He loved the technical style more than the high flying, and he held it for a couple months. He defended it at Bash at the Beach against. I'm trying to remember who he wrestled that night
Disco Inferno.
because Disco Inferno. Thank you. And
Yeah, and it actually was a pretty good match. Not gonna sit here in front.
well, if anybody can pull a good match out of Disco, it's Dean Malenko.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yes.
I remember when the build up to that match, and I was thinking like this is gonna be like a 30-second squash match. Dean's gonna go in there and kick his ass real fast, and no, it ended up being a pretty entertaining match for
Yeah.
Disco.
It's a very jarring contrast of personal lifestyles for sure. But yeah, so Dean holds it through up until the night after Bash at the Beach, July of '96, when he dropped it to Ray, and he's just a little pup back then. He was only what 20, 21
Yep,
at
that's
this
a young
point.
Ray Ray.
That's a young
I
Ray
think
Ray, and
21. Yeah,
no tattoos, no. So he looks
nothing.
like Ray. If you didn't know who Dominic was, you would think this was Dominic if you just looked at a picture.
Exactly.
But there's a lot of people. You see a lot of masked wrestlers that don't have a lot of size that go out there, and I don't want to criticize too much, but they think they're going to be the next Rey Mysterio, like as far as great, and they might be able to keep their
Well,
balance on the ropes or do some of the moves. The thing with Ray is, if you watch him back then, he also knew how to sell.
exactly. Ray is a once in a lifetime entity, and he is a lucha god to the luchadors. So all of them are going to aspire to be like him in some shape, form, or fashion. And I mean, you guys can try, but there's only one Ray Jr. I'm sorry,
Yeah. Uh,
and I
just
and I still call him Ray Jr. That's Ray Jr. He started as Ray Jr. I'm gonna always call him Ray Jr.
yep. Your opinion, Barry, greatest luchador of all time, Rey Mysterio Jr.
Yeah, I will say right. Others will argue Mil Mascaras, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna say
We
Rey
could throw El
Mysterio.
Santo in the conversation, I guess, but
Yeah,
nobody had the mainstream reach of that Rey Mysterio did either from an
exactly. Well,
individual.
right. We'll say the most profitable luchador.
Yeah, there you go. So Ray holds the belt for a few months until October in '96. I believe it was Halloween Havoc, wasn't it? When he dropped the belt back to Malenko.
Hmm.
And I remember this because it was the angle where Malenko stole Ray's mask going into this.
Yep.
He just walked up to him and just yanked it off his head. And then that's where I really learned about the tradition of the mask of Lucha Libre,
Man.
that it was such a big deal, But when it happened, I just was like, oh, he just took his face off. But yeah, uh, so Malenko gets another short run with the belt for a couple months. We watched the match he dropped the belt on this past weekend, Barry, over at our buddy's house, when he lost to Ultimo Dragon at Starcade. It was the match to determine they were unifying the J Crown with the WCW Cruiserweight Championship. So it was like all 9 belts were on the line at once. And there you see it. It's a good thing he had Sonny Ono, or he wouldn't be able to carry all those.
Right. Jeez Louise. Look at that. Well, right. Some of them belts probably weigh about 15 ounces. So,
Probably. And I don't know how I feel about Sonny actually wearing the Cruiserweight Championship around his
yeah,
waist.
yeah. That's a desecration of the belt. You take that off right now, Sonny.
Yeah, he's probably going somewhere to sell it.
Hmm.
Get an auction going like he did with the machine mask.
Yeah. Bastard.
Yeah, he was a shady character, that Sonny Ono.
Yeah. We'll see. Right. We'll see them both next weekend. So,
Yeah. Uh, he only held the belt for about a month, believe it or not. Then he dropped it back to Malenko in January 21st of '97, and then Malenko held it for about a month. So there was a little bit of a hot potato going on here between
hmm,
October and February. And then at Super Brawl, Malenko lost the belt to Six in the NWO, Sean Waltman. We
after
didn't
he
get
had
a
already hold the belt, I believe.
What's that?
Didn't he have possession of the belt?
He had stolen the belt on I think it was I think it was Nitro, and he wore it to the ring even though he was the challenger, and then he wound up winning the match. So
Hate that angle.
yeah, I don't like the stealing belts, trashing belts, throwing them in the river, all that kind of business. Uh, I'll get we need to start keeping a tally. How many of these guys are going to be at the expo this weekend, Bari?
Exactly, because Pac will be there too.
Yeah, I actually enjoyed his run with the belt though for those about 4 months or so, because it was the same time the Outsiders had the tag belts, Hogan had the world title, so they were
Draped in
had a
gold.
yeah. He lost it though on a Saturday show. I think they called it Saturday Nitro. It was on the WCW radio, I think it was, at the Forum in Los Angeles to our buddy Chris Jericho, and so it kind
Flying.
of yeah, so it didn't have the fanfare that I would have expected for somebody to beat a good standing member of the NWO for a championship.
Mm-hmm.
You'd think you'd want that on your TV, because I don't know how many people actually listened to that Saturday Nitro episode. I have to see if I can find it on YouTube or something to find the audio. Let's see. Jericho holds it for not too long before he drops it to Minder's favorite wrestler, Bari.
That's
Das,
right.
das Wunderkind.
That's the key.
Uh, my wife got a look at him for the first time today. He was seconding Disco against Conan on Bash at the Beach, and she had opinions
Yeah.
because he had the skin tight mesh T-shirt and the haircut, and all, like he looks like he was be dancing to techno music. I was like, yeah, that's his gimmick.
Yeah.
But he was very good at playing. Well, he was good as the teenage prodigy baby face when he first came in, but he really embraced that sleazy Eurotrash heel character when he did it, which I think was the best Alice Wright when he started doing the boogie nights with disco and all that stuff.
Exactly. Out there dancing with the Nitro girls and what have you.
Just from behind it, they all so I love the look of surprise on their faces when they turn around and see him. Good stuff. Let's see.
Classic.
Yes, Alex dropped the belt back to Jericho in August of '97, and then he would drop it a month later to Eddie Guerrero. Look at that guy. And uh, this, Bari, we talked about this today. This setup, what we both agreed is the greatest junior heavyweight match of all time
Yeah.
when he dropped this belt.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Yeah, this might be my favorite Eddie Guerrero, that sleazy heel when he first turned heel after doing the babyface stuff for a couple years in WCW.
Cheat
And
to win.
Cheat to Win, he started doing the Eddie Guerrero's my favorite wrestler, which I still need to find that T-shirt. But Halloween Havoc '97, they tried to sell the pay-per-view around Hogan and Piper in the cage. Uh, about I want to say 2 or 3 weeks after the first Hell in a Cell match, and they did this. So a lot of people were calling it Age in a Cage.
Age in the cage, in the 50-foot tall cage at that.
It was a huge cage. It's
God,
like,
wasn't it?
and I didn't Macho come off the top of it?
He came off the top of it, and then they watched some idiot fan
Uh-huh.
climb inside and get the shit kicked out of him.
Oh, he got whooped on. Yeah. Oh my goodness. I know
It
we're
was all a part of
podcast.
that. Yeah, they didn't turn away or anything. It was just all a part of the match. Whatever.
Yeah. So yeah, so Eddie drops the belt to Ray Jr. in a hair versus mask match. Or I'm sorry, title versus mask match. I got confused there for a second. I really liked Ray's gear in this because he was dressed like the Phantom, and I love that movie when it came out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Billy Zane, and he always had a knack for bringing out superhero themed ring attire.
The Silver
Mysterio,
Surfer.
especially he never got sued. Uh,
Yeah.
believe it or not, Ray only holds the belt for a couple weeks before he drops it back to Eddie on Nitro, and then Dragon gets it back on another Nitro, which looks like it was the one after Starcade in '97, if my calendar is right. So Ultimo Dragon is a two-time champion at this point, and he only holds it for about a week. And then January 8th of '98, he drops it to Juventud Guerrera.
Really.
Then let's see, Juvi holds it for a week. Like I said, it's another one of those hot potato things. Holds it for
Or
a
as
week,
Chris,
drops it.
or as Chris Jericho calls him, the ugliest man in Mexico.
If you watch Slamboree '98. Uh, but no, Juvi holds it for a week, drops it to Ray Jr. on Thunder, and then it sold out. Jericho basically just obliterates Ray's knees. It puts him on the shelf for several months and takes the title from him. Hey, Minders is in the chat. Minders, we already talked about Alex Wright. I'm sorry, we didn't wait. Uh, so yeah, so Jericho gets his third run with the belt here. This is my favorite version of Chris Jericho, the king of
Mine
all
too.
loopholes, heel bastard Jericho.
Collectible Chris Jericho.
Yeah,
Go around collecting
the
things.
the collector of trophies they called him because
Yes.
he had like Ikea's sarong. He had
Movies,
Movie's mask. Yeah, because he won that mask match.
his career.
Yeah. Uh, let's see here. Where is it at? So we get to Slamboree in May. Jericho has had a very successful run with the title, with all this stuff, always finding loopholes to keep his belt. Uh, there is a battle royal to determine his challenger, and Bari, why don't you? I'm not going to make you quote him, but what do you remember about the battle royal from Slamboree?
So that was a battle royal for the number one contendership for the Cruiserweight Championship. and Chris Jericho took it upon himself to be special guest ring announcer, and he announced all, what was it, 18, 20 competitors.
I think it was 20.
He announced all, right, we'll say 20. He announced all 20 competitors and some of the most cringiest shit that you would ever hear in wrestling that couldn't be allowed today because he would be canceled. But it was yet nonetheless entertaining. And I'm not going to give any examples. Just go and watch it yourself.
It's on the Peacock, and they don't edit it. So,
No, they don't.
so, so long story short, it comes down to Juventud Guerrera and Ciclope, or the final two in the Battle Royal. There's some sort of communication, and Juvi just eliminates himself, just hops over the top rope and leaves. So we get Jericho versus Ciclope for the championship, and Jericho gets basically humbled, gets beaten pretty quickly because the mask came off, and it was none other than as
Dean
as
Malenko.
as Jericho calls him Stinko Malenko,
Tinko Malenko.
and Dean Malenko just ran through him and took the belt. However, he is the king of all loopholes after all, so Jericho got the win nullified because Malenko wasn't officially in the Battle Royal, so he wasn't legally eligible to win the championship. So Jericho gets his belt back, and he winds up defending it from June through a couple more months until Road Wild, and he took on Hoovy, and Malenko was the referee in that match. Do you remember that one, Bari?
I do
And
remember that. I didn't go back and watch it today, but I remember that match.
and Malenko called it down the middle until Jericho got cute with him. So classic Jericho.
Yeah.
And then so Hoovy won the belt here at Road Wild over Jericho. He holds it for a few weeks, and then after was it Fall Brawl, the Nitro afterwards, after the flock dissolved, then Kidman came in and he got probably the biggest win of his career to that point on Nitro,
Mm,
winning the Cruiserweight Championship. And look at that, he actually was clean. He wasn't itching. Uh,
exactly. He didn't have a 7-inch. They got that boy off that smack.
yes, meth is a hell of a drug, as they say.
Right.
Uh, Kidman holds the belt for 2 months until Nitro in November 16th. He drops it back to Hoovy, and then 6 days later at World War III, Kidman wins it back. And then Kidman has a pretty long run. He had about a 4.5 month reign with that title after that, because I remember at Starrcade they had the three-way match, him and Hoovy and Mysterio, when they were both in the LWO at the time.
And
And
then he fought Eddie.
then yeah, because Kidman won the three-way, then Eddie got mad at both of those guys, so he said, "I'm going to do it," and he went out there in street clothes and had another match, and that one was probably better than the first one. And Kidman retained,
Yep.
so he held the title until March 15th, '99. He lost it to Mysterio on Nitro, and I'm trying to remember my calendars. Is this before he dropped the mask to the NWO, Bari?
I think it was after he dropped the mask. I think.
Okay, okay. So Ray holds it for a month, and then a guy who I thought, honestly, for years, I just because I couldn't remember for sure, I thought he held the title before, but he never did. Psychosis beat
Psychosis,
Ray.
yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Psychosis. I gotta be accurate. April 1999 on Nitro, he won the title, and then, of course, dropped the belt the next week back to Ray on Nitro. So they weren't giving him much, but they gave him something. Uh, then Ray, I've I've forgotten about this angle, this character, Bari. Lenny Lane,
Oh, yeah.
August 19th, 99.
I'm
He
trying to
won the
get
belt
that.
on Thunder, and then it wound up getting vacated, and I never knew why until I looked at Wikipedia because they're never wrong.
Right.
And so this is what uh, Wikipedia said about why it was vacated. It says the championship was vacated due to Lenny Lane being stripped of the title after Turner Broadcasting did not approve of the publicity garnered through Lane's homosexual gimmick.
Interesting.
So yeah, I didn't know it went that high up.
Wow.
Because remember, Lenny was teaming up with Lodi at the time. They
Lodi,
were
yeah,
brothers.
exactly.
So yeah, that wound up getting. Shoot, where was I? Here? No, that's not it. Hang on, I lost my place. That's not it either. Okay, here we go. Now I'm back. I
All
got my
right.
timeline here on the side, and I'm trying to make sure I don't lose my place. Uh, so title gets vacated. Psychosis gets it back on October 4th of '99 on Nitro. The title reign doesn't last a show, Bari, because he dropped it to the Disco Inferno
Disco
on that
Inferno.
same night. Look at those pants. This looks kind of like my Zubaz, Bari, but
Jeez.
a little more
They'll
bombastic looking.
right, they'll hypnotize you if he runs too fast.
Or if he does a somersault.
Yeah. Jeez
What are you doing?
Louise. Well,
What
hello,
are your
Noodle.
general thoughts on Disco, Bari?
I wow. Disco Inferno. Uh wasn't a real big fan of him. He wasn't horrible in the ring and he was entertaining by certain standards, but I didn't like the character personally.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I
Disco
was kind of the
Duck,
same way. Disco Duck. Uh,
Wolfpack
and
Flunky, like, you
yeah,
know,
that was when, and I think we've been over this before. That's when I think that the Wolfpack really jumped the shark was when they put Disco in,
exactly. It
and
became a
so
joke.
yeah, and then same thing with the Filthy Animals when they brought in
Yeah,
Disco.
it became a joke.
The only unit I enjoyed him in was the Boogie Nights with Alex
The
Wright
Boogie
and
Nights
Theo
with
Mackey.
Alex Wright. Yeah, that's where he fit.
Yes. Uh, do you ever listen to Conan's Keeping It 100 podcast, Bari?
Every once in a while I do. If I see it, if it pops up into something that I want to hear him talk about, then yeah, I'll cut him on.
Yeah, because Gilbert's a talking head on that show too. So
Hmm.
what are you doing? My cat is being nuts. Just go, go see Mama. Thank you. All right. Sorry about that. All right. So Disco holds the belt for about 6 weeks, and then here's a guy we haven't talked about before, Bari. Evan Courageous.
Or as Tony Schiavone calls him Evan Know Nothing Courageous.
Yes. Nothing happening. Evan Courageous.
Yeah, he hates him.
Yeah. Yeah. This is pre 3 count. Evan Courageous,
Yeah.
but he holds the title for a bit. Not a lot of fanfare to his run with the belt or anything. And he winds up dropping the belt for our first intergender champion, Bari, which is Medusa.
Made in the USA.
Yes. Post Team Madness,
Yeah.
and she was running with Evan for a bit. He was her boy toy, I guess, for lack of a better term. And so this is kind of a dark period for the Cruiserweight Championship, Bari, because I hate talking about the guy that she dropped it to.
Look at him, son of a bitch.
Fucking Ferrara. I
Yeah.
hate everything
Ferrara,
about this.
if I ever see you in person, I'm going to do what Jim Cornette did. I'm going to spit on you too,
Yeah,
bastard.
yeah, it's
Sorry.
yeah, it's easy to blame Russo for this, but Ferrara's the one that brought him he showed it to him and he pitched it. So yeah, it's on both of them, but mainly Ferrara. Just a
Yeah.
horrible taste, make fun of a guy with Bell's palsy. Uh, Not to
Well,
mention a guy who's leaps and bounds better than he is on commentary and knowledge of the
exactly.
business and all that stuff. So just horrible. Just such bad taste for this whole
Such bad
friggin'
taste.
story. And
It's
Dr.
one.
Death was involved. It was just weird.
Yeah, it was.
I'm gonna get
It's
his face
one
off of
thing
here.
to right. It's one thing to dress up like Jr., but to actually imitate him and with the facial feet, no,
Try to make
that's
him look
yeah,
stupid.
yeah, that's nasty, man. Don't do that. It's not cool.
That's just being ugly, man.
Yeah,
You don't be ugly to people. That's shitty.
yeah.
Uh, well, you go from being ugly to a couple of pretty people. February 20th of 2000, a Super Brawl. The artist formerly known as Prince Iakea
Look
gets
at
the
it.
win there, and you recognize the lady there that he's with, Bari?
That's Queen Charmel.
That's Queen Charmel when she was Paisley.
Yes, a former Miss Black America,
Uh-huh.
and she'll let you know.
Oh yeah. Excuse me. I'm trying really hard not to get sick this week. All right. So yeah, so the Prince holds it until the dubious episode of Monday Nitro when Bischoff and Russo strip everybody of their championships,
Hmm.
and then going into Spring Stampede, they're going to do a hard reset of everything. And I remember seeing this episode of Nitro when it happened. I was like, "What the hell's going on?" Because everybody's in the ring except for the stars, basically. It's all the young guys, all the new blood is what they called it. And
Exactly.
so I'm trying to remember who were the champions at the time. It was IK was the cruiserweight champion. Jarrett was the
Knob,
U.S. champion,
yeah, Knobs was the hardcore champion.
right? I
Uh,
think was it the Harris brothers were the tag champs.
Tag team champions. Yeah,
So they all dropped the belts, and the only one they didn't have was Sid because he was the world champion and he wasn't in the ring. So
exactly. And
so then
that's when
it's like,
Bischoff dropped the line about the scissors.
where are your scissors? That's what he. And I was like, and at the time I didn't get it. I didn't know the story in 2000.
I didn't
It
know either.
wasn't
I thought he meant that Sid always wears the damn belt. They have to cut it off of him.
right, but no, we didn't hear the Arn story till a few years after that when the Horseman DVD came out. Is when I heard
Much
it,
later. Yeah, much later.
and then after that I went. They showed this on some DVD. I forget. I think it was the Best of Nitro. And then I saw the line again. I was like, oh, that's what he meant. Like I'm surprised Sid didn't just punch him in the face right there. Because
Exactly. Trying to
Sid,
draw some heat.
oh, Sid's got a bit of a temper. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah. Well,
So anyway,
yeah.
oh my goodness, that was just such a weird. So Spring Stampede rolls around. They crown all new champions, and in the process we get a new cruiserweight champion, which I was actually very happy with. It was Chris Candido. Uh, you see him with Tammy.
Right. Him and Skanky. I mean, Tammy.
Oh
Sorry.
boy, yeah, she's doing her comeuppance as we
Yeah,
speak, Barry.
well,
But
she's some bad girl's girlfriend right now.
uh-huh. Uh, but Candido was so good though.
Yeah, he
Everything he
was.
did looked good. Uh, I think didn't he get a run with the U.S. title later? Or am I
I'm
thinking
not
of
sure.
Douglas?
Are you thinking about Shane Douglas?
Wrong triple threat guy. My mistake. So Candido holds the belt for a month, and now you got to help me out with this because this is around the time I stopped watching Nitro like regularly. So he drops it to Crowbar and Daphne. So were they
Hmm.
co-champions at the time?
They were co-champions. I want to say it was a tag team match.
Okay, did they
It
beat
was
Candido and
right.
Sonny?
Yeah, Candido and Sonny versus Screaming Lady and Crowbar.
Yeah. Zombie Hot, as Taz
Yeah,
called her.
and she ended up. I want to say it was a double pin.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
That would make sense anyway. How about that?
as little as things made sense in 2000 WCW.
Exactly.
Damn it, don't get sick, Rib. All right. So, anyway, after the tag match, then it wound up just being the belt going on Daphne herself. So she was the Cruiserweight champion for surprisingly a couple weeks.
Yeah, she was.
And was this before or after she got spurned by David Flair when he left her for Stacy Keibler?
I want to say this is after
Okay. Well,
because
anyway,
that whole David Flair Stacy Keeper thing was around Bash the Beach
okay.
9, I think.
So we get to talk about one of our favorite factions in WCW now, Bari, because Daphne would drop the title to Lieutenant Loco of the Misfits in Action, Chavo Guerrero. didn't seem like they were trying a little too hard with the names for the people in the MIA
God.
because we got Lieutenant Loco, who's Chavo, which I mean,
Corporal Cajun,
Corporal Cajun, who's Lash LaRue, Major Guns, uh,
who was for guns.
Tylene Buck, I believe is her real name. Uh,
Right.
then you got Private Stash, which was Van
Dash was
Hammer, which, from what I understand, he wanted to be Major Stash, but there was already a Major, so he had to be a private.
he
And
had to
then,
be a
of,
private,
and then,
exactly.
of course, the leader, the commanding officer, if you will, was General Hugh G. Rection, Hugh Morris. At first, he was a captain. He got promoted after he beat Lance Storm for the U.S. title.
And
But
he tried to get that over.
he
He
really, bless his
get
heart, he tried.
over.
And that's
Ah,
and that's not leaving out GI Bro, by the way, Booker T.
yeah, and which was a former gimmick of his
Yeah, from Global, right?
in his early Texas days.
Thanks, Herb. Good old Herb Abrams.
Yeah,
How lest we
yeah.
forget. All
Uh,
right. All right. So Chavo holds the belt until the end of July. He drops it to Lance Storm. And we talked about this period during our hardcore title episode, Bari, because
yes, we
this
did.
is the 100 kilos and under belt, the Cruiserweight Championship, after he renamed it to the metric system in honor of his beloved Canada.
Right.
Excuse me. Because you see there, he's got the Canadian Heavyweight Championship around his waist and the Saskatchewan Hardcore International title over his shoulder there.
Well, rightfully named.
Well, we discussed that in our probably our shortest episode
Exactly.
titled
Don't
"Bless Their
remind
Hearts,
me.
They Tried."
Yeah.
So eventually, Lance bequeaths the 100 kilograms and under title to his stablemate Elix Skipper, who, excuse me, I knew him better from TNA, from his Triple H
Right.
days with
Same.
Chris Daniels.
Yeah.
But I forgot that he was not only was he a former 100 kilos and under champion, he was, I believe, the first one half of the first cruiserweight tag team champions, also with Kid Romeo, right?
Yeah. He and Kid Romeo, the strippers.
Well, yeah, and that might break the hardcore titles record for shortest episode if we do one on the cruiserweight tag titles, Barry.
Oh
I think there
yeah.
was only two champions. It was them and then Kidman and Mysterio, right?
Yep.
There you go. We just did it. All right. So Prime Time holds the belt. About 6 weeks, believe it or not. I didn't think he'd hold it that long. But he dropped it to above average Mike Sanders from the Natural Born Thrillers. And I really like this group, Barry. I don't care what anybody says. I mean, look at the group that he had. It was Chuck Palumbo, Sean O'Hare, Mark Jindrak, Sean Stasiak, just for starters. That's a pretty solid base to have for your stable of young talent.
Very true. They
Then
could
you
have
got
been something. They right.
yeah,
They could have been something.
yeah. I think eventually didn't they get Kevin Nash to be their coach or something?
Coach Nash. He just had to
Uh,
be involved in something.
yeah. For one, I really liked Palumbo Jindrak and O'Hare as a tag team.
Yeah.
I know it was O'Hare and Palumbo were the team that came to during the invasion, but it started off as O'Hare and Jindrak when they were
Hmm.
both of them were 6'6" at least and crazy athletic. Chop. I'm looking at the list. I see Chavo. Uh, O'Hare could do that swanton bomb better than Jeff Hardy could.
Yeah, he could. They were athletic as hell. They were both a couple of basketball players.
Uh-huh.
Just athletic as shit.
And then O'Hare also had that kickboxing MMA
Hmm.
background too. And then you got your Palumbo and Stasiak, who were another tag team in the group. Then they just swapped them. But I remember Palumbo feuding with Luger when he came up because he was the
Yeah.
main event. So yeah, they could have had some legs to this group if they wanted to. Like if they would have brought this whole group over with the invasion and let them stay as a group, then they probably could have done something. You know, you never
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean, as much as could be allowed to be done during the invasion angle from WCW guys.
exactly.
I'm not dying, I promise. I just got this
So,
cough right
it's all
here.
right.
This is driving me
Yeah,
nuts.
I know the feeling, man.
This shit better be gone by Friday. That's all I'm gonna
Damn
say.
right. Right. We got shit to do next weekend.
Yes, that's right. Uh, anyway, let's get back to this. December 4th on Thunder, he drops the belt back to Chavo, who by this point has shed his commission as lieutenant of the Misfits in Action. He's just Chavo Guerrero again. At the and then at the last pay per view, the last WCW pay per view, Greed, Chavo dropped the belt to Shane Helms. Look at that guy. Stand back. There's a hurricane coming through.
Hmm.
But he was just
Hmm.
Sugar Shane at this point.
That's it. Sugar with
Like,
his backup dancers.
uh-huh. I kind of feel bad for Shane Helms and during the invasion because number one, he changed his name because he couldn't be Shane because there was a Shane McMahon, so he had to be Gregory, and then they made him the Hurricane out of that. They took away his music because the song was about the Vertebreaker, his finish, and then
Hmm.
they took away his move. They took the Vertebreaker away. They said it was too dangerous.
Hmm.
Uh,
Hmm.
for those that don't know, that's basically a kudo driver cop killer that Homicide does. But Helms made it look good though when he would do that move.
Yeah, he did.
And yeah, so
A
Helms
nightmare on
closed
Helm,
down
what he used to call
Nightmare on Helm Street. Yes,
it.
but no, Shane Helms basically closed down WCW with that cruiserweight title, and then when the invasion happened, he brought the belt to WWF. And on July 3rd, right in the mix of the whole invasion angle before the first pay per view, Kidman won the belt from him on SmackDown. And then he wound up having a match at Invasion, champion versus champion with X-Pac, non-title. And he was the first guy to get a win on Invasion for the Alliance, basically,
Yep.
because he got the win on X-Pac. Uh, Eventually, let me change my tile here so I can keep track. Here we go. Last one. Later that month on Raw, X-Pac actually did beat him for the belt, and he was a double champion. He was holding both belts. And he held that cruiserweight title for a while. He traded the WWF light heavyweight with Tajiri back and forth during this period.
Yeah, because I
But
want to say they had a unification match at SummerSlam.
yeah, they did because I remember Albert came down and got the mist. Kidman won the belt back from X-Pac in October of '01 on SmackDown. And after that, X-Pac was at this point was still the WWF champion, but he kind of disappeared. Nobody really saw him again. And then on October 22nd of '01, Kidman lost the belt to Tajiri. And there you see him with Tori Wilson there. He's so happy. And he was the last guy. He would hold it through Survivor Series. He was supposed to have a unification match with X-Pac, but X-Pac wasn't there. So I don't even know what the story is with that. I'm not going to speculate, but they wound up just basically naming Tajiri as the first WWF Cruiserweight Champion. And they kind of took the same design for the belt. Here's the belt that they went with. So very similar. They don't have the big wide plate with the company name on it like they did on the original,
Right.
which is fine with me. It looked a little clunky that way. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So yeah, so this is the belt that we saw from basically from 2001 through 2007, I think is the end of it. Hornswoggle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's our championship history there. Like I said, there's a lot to digest, believe it or not, from but like we said, we were WCW kids, so we ate this shit up when we were kids. Right up there with the ECW stuff. But uh, yeah. So let's move on. Now we gotta just talk about what makes us happy, Bari, and starting with like what we think are our most notable feuds for the belt. And I'll start if you don't mind. I've got four. I've got Eddie and Ray
Hmm.
because because that stretched out over several years in various angles. Uh, Malenko and Ray from the beginning, '96, that first run from like July through October. Jericho Malenko, obviously, you got the Stickle Pay angle, you got the Boris Malenko. Remember that when he had the cardboard cutout of Dean and that was supposed to be his dad? And then I'm going to throw X-Pac and Tajiri on there from the WWF period because they were pretty much the guys carrying that championship the whole time, along with Kidman. But it seems like when you look at WCW, at least for the first couple years of that belt, it seems like everything kind of revolved around Rey Mysterio as far as angles go. Like they'd have like take Jericho Malenko, they were having their feud, but the result of it was Ray beating Jericho for the championship. You got Guerrero and Jericho feud. You have all these guys, but then it always just came back around to Mysterio. So yes, that's my four. What do you got, Barry, for your
I have the same four, but I'll add one more.
okay?
I'm going to add the Jericho and Hoovy feud.
Oh, that's good. Oh,
That went from January to August, off and
yeah,
on. So,
and plus,
and
Hoovy lost his mask in the whole thing.
yeah, Hoovy lost his mask. He got a hell of a push because he became the Giant Killer.
Yeah. Now
So
he
yeah,
now I enjoyed Hoovy and the Filthy Animals. Not so much Disco.
yeah. Now Hoovy was great. He thought he was the Rock. I love that. It's a hell of a cup. But no, Hoovy thought he was the Rock, and he was just as charismatic as he wanted to be, and he thought he
Was
was somebody, and he was
he called
enjoyable to
himself
watch.
he called himself the Juice, if I remember right.
I need the juices back, and the juices.
How did you feel about the Mexicools, Barry, when Hoovy and Super Crazy and Psychosis popped up on SmackDown with their
Uh,
lawnmowers and their
yeah. We can't do it today.
a little on the nose, maybe?
They were
Yeah,
great though.
could not do it today, most
No,
definitely.
no. I want to say somebody had a title run. Who was it? Was
Uh,
it Hoovy?
Hoovy.
Yeah,
Hoovy got the
Hoovy.
Cruiserweight title.
Yeah, yeah.
Hoovy
So
beat London, I think.
yeah. So I mean, hey, they did their thing.
Yeah. We're going to see Hoovy at the Expo.
We are.
It's going to be a good time.
Yes, it
All right.
is. I'm excited.
So when we talk about our favorite matches, I think we're probably going to have a fairly diverse list between the two of us, but I think there's going to be some commonality in here. So obviously, first on the list has to be Eddie and Ray from Halloween Havoc '97. It just can't get any better than that, really.
That's
Uh,
the standard for a cruiserweight match.
if you'd watch it today, you'd probably think, "Oh, this is just a spot fest." But it's like I said, those guys knew how to make it make sense.
Exactly.
It's not just spots for the sake of spots. It's doing it as counters and that top rope flipping DDT thing that Ray did on Eddie was just perfect
Yes, it was.
to the point where I made one of my guys' finishes on the video game several years later, not realizing, hey, you got to be able to set it up. But that's neither here nor there. Uh,
Right. It's okay.
yeah, okay. I'm going to throw in the Malenko versus Liger match from May of '96 on Nitro. Just how do you go wrong with those two guys? Uh, I'll throw in the Malenko Ray match that we talked about from Disney on Nitro because that was my first. That was really the first time I saw a Cruiserweight Championship match because I didn't get the pay-per-views back then. So that one kind of grabbed me. I'm gonna throw in Six versus Rey Mysterio from Nitro. That's the match when Nash power bombed the crap out of Mysterio.
Jesus, he about killed him.
Oh my God! It's because Ray was what a $150 then,
If that.
and Nash is 7 feet and just picked him up and just tossed it. It's like when he lawn darted him into the TV truck that one Nitro. It just felt like he was nothing. And then that led to a match between Ray and Nash where Nash just murderized him more.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I liked Six and Ray, and even before the Nash interference, I thought those two worked well together. And then I got Jericho versus Steve Pay with Stanbury, Malenko. So so that's my five.
I just got a few to add because I've got you've named off three of the ones that I have on my list already.
I'm sorry.
It's all good. I'm gonna go Super Brawl 8, Jericho and Hoovy.
That
Well,
was an
Hoovy lost.
excellent match.
That was a hell of a match. Hell of a match. I wanted Hoovy to win so bad, and I think everybody in the Cow Palace wanted Hoovy to
Oh,
win that bad
nobody was
too.
pulling for Jericho,
No
and
one,
there was no
no one.
song for them to sing along to that would make them think that they liked him.
Exactly. And then I'm gonna go. I'm gonna jump ahead to Starcade, and I'm gonna do that triple threat match between
Okay,
Kidman, Hoovy, and Ray.
very nice. Yeah, that's okay.
Ouch.
There's a comment in the thread. I'm not going to put it up, but I don't know why it's there. Uh, I'll show it to you later. Uh, as far as the top five champions to hold the belt here, I don't know. I put right here. Okay. It's pretty cut and dry top five for me. It's Ray Jr., Kidman, Malenko, Jericho, and Hoovy. There's my top five. Mostly based on number of reigns.
Right. And my list goes Ray, Dean, Kidman, Hoovy, Eddie.
Oh, you got Eddie in there, so over Jericho. Okay.
Yeah, I threw Eddie in
I
there.
just thought Jericho's reign when he was the heel was so good that he had to go on there.
Yeah.
I mean, if you ask me to pick between Ray and Eddie or Jericho and Eddie and any other subjects or conversations, I'm gonna pick Eddie every time.
Gonna pick Eddie. Yeah. You know me. I gotta be a little different.
Oh yeah, nothing wrong with that. I mean, if we both agreed on everything, it'd be no fun, even though we tend to share the same brain about everything.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all good though.
Yeah. So I'm very excited because I think if we both play our cards right, Barry, by the time our next Gold Rush episode rolls around, we'll both have at least one more new belt in our collections.
Exactly.
I don't know what it's going to
Exactly.
be yet. I got to see what they got.
Me either. Right. I'm so excited. So excited. Oh my god.
Usually Minders is the giddy one, but I think it's going to be us when we get there. Uh,
Right.
if you guys, anybody listen, if you're in the Indianapolis area, and I don't know how many tickets are available at this point, uh, if not this year, next year, you got to do the Square Circle Expo. It's so much fun at the Wyndham Hotel, and we're going to see several of these fellows we mentioned uh, over there. Some good live wrestling vendors. You can get all kinds of masks, belts, figures, Funkos, all kinds of good stuff there. So it's something for everybody. So you should definitely
It's a
at some point.
happening.
It is a happening. It really is. There's a lot of people, but it doesn't feel like a lot of people.
Exactly. Everything moves pretty smoothly.
It really does. They do a good job at this. So we're looking forward to that next week. And then if we do get new belts before the next episode, we'll be sure to show them on the air. Or who knows?
You know.
Maybe we'll do a live stream from the hotel next weekend
Yeah.
if we get something good.
Yeah. Definitely. See
Yep.
here. Right. See. Right. See what happens.
So Bari, if you had your pick, if there was one belt there that you could get and they had it available, what would it be? Like, what would be at the top of your wish list?
The WCW United States Championship.
The one we covered, or the Reggie Parks version from the '90s?
The one we covered.
All right. Well, then you could get Luger to sign it.
Yeah. Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
Well, you know what? You know what? Either model will be fine for me. I like
Oh,
them
they're
both.
both great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then maybe the Intercontinental Championship block logo on black leather.
Oh, I like it. They go along with your winged eagle.
Yes.
I think if I had to pick, well, you know me, at the top of my wish list for a while has been the old Western States Heritage Championship.
Right. A rare one.
Yeah. Plus, if there's only been two champions, so that's a very good likelihood I could get both of them to sign in at some point. So that's top of my list. I would love to get the AWA title that Lawler had. I think you've mentioned that to me also. But
Yeah.
then I don't know. I'm maybe I just go old school, just go with the Dome Globe NWA World Title, the 10 pounds.
Yeah. Yeah. I like a 10 pounds of gold too.
Get Tommy Rich to sign it because he's
Yeah.
going to be there. Somebody
Yeah.
say something about Wildfire. I always wanted to do that. Oh my goodness, Bari, I believe this is it is your turn to choose after this week because I picked the cruiserweight title.
You did pick the Cruiserweight Championship, and it is indeed my turn to pick this week. And I haven't a damn clue what title to pick. So let's see here. Let me look around at my stuff. Let's do let's go a little modern and let's do the TNT Championship next episode.
Our first AEW episode.
Yeah, yeah, something different.
Okay, and I think we could probably just encompass. I mean, I know they've had alternate designs, like guys have had different colorings. We can just do the whole lineage of the belt, of
Yeah,
the title.
yeah, no, yeah, that's fine.
I
They
mean, the
haven't had
design
very
has
many
always stayed the same, so I mean, we can do
exactly,
that.
exactly, and they haven't
Okay,
had very many champions, so it'll be fun.
yeah, we can do that. Let me see. I
A
got
lot
it.
of damn matches, but yeah, it'll be fun.
A lot of matches, a lot of moments. I mean,
Yeah,
just talking about Brody Lee alone is gonna take up a lot of it.
exactly.
Uh, just getting shit together here. Oh, plus we got to talk about the prototype that they used because they ran out of time when they first introduced the belt. But
Terrible,
yeah,
terrible.
yeah, I know. But no, so that'll be a good one. We'll so whenever we get a chance, hopefully it'll be in a couple weeks. I know this was kind of a long stretch between this one and the last episode, but that's just because things happen, birthdays, illnesses, wrestling shows get in the way. But
Exactly.
hopefully maybe in a couple 3 weeks we can come back and we'll talk about a little AEW next time around, Bari. Uh,
Definitely.
yes. So we're getting done right in time for SmackDown. We can see what's going to happen with Cody and Roman tonight. And
I've got the TV on back here now.
yeah, yeah. So I think this is a good time for us to get out of here, Bari. Unless you got anything you want to add?
No, that's it. Yeah. Hey, it was a fun episode, very informative,
Yes.
and we'll do it again when we can get around to it.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
until next time, or if you keep an eye on our Facebook page next weekend, because like I said, we may have a live stream for at least for a few minutes and show you some cool stuff.
Of some
But
belts or maybe some unboxings, get some loot crates, whatever.
yeah, you never know. But anyway, so until next time for Bari, this is Reb. Remind you all, life is hard, work stiff. We'll see you guys next time.
Peace.